Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Council of One's Babylon 5 review. And we are continuing our review of Season 2, and very quickly to the chat, Ray's Collections. Good afternoon, sir. Good to see you, and welcome. Hope you enjoy the stream and everything. And as the title and everything indicates, we're talking about Season 2, A Run Through Dark Places. And as always, I've got my fellow council members here, Fiona Wolf, Bounds of Elysium, and Classic Comics. Guys, how y'all doing today? I know Elysium for you, it's a little bit later than normal, but glad y'all are here as always.
No problem.
All right, good to be here.
So, well, we don't stand on ceremony around here, so we'll go ahead and jump right in, and we'll get into this episode. And this is a good one. This is an episode that's got a lot of moving parts to it. So, guys, I open the floor to you, and where do you want to begin?
Well, with the Psi Cop plot, seems like the obvious one.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. Yeah, and we get another installment of everyone's favorite Psi Cop, Alfred Bester, played by Admiral Pavel Chekhov, aka Walter Koenig. So, yeah, honestly, anytime Bester's involved, you know it's never going to be good. And as usual, it's par for form, except for this one time, the crew of Babylon 5 gets one over on Alfred, and I am thankful for it. Truly, truly.
Well, they'll still get a few more hits in on him, but he'll also be able to hit back, though. Oof.
Mm-hmm. And just very quickly to the chat and everything, Ensign Ricky, good afternoon, bud. It's been a while. Glad to see you. Hope you're doing well. So, yeah, yeah, I know everybody just loves Bester. Of course, I imagine there are a few euphemisms or twists on his name that everybody would love to play with, but we won't do that here. He's not on a table, Ricky. He's more in a chair. But yes, you're not wrong. We start off with Alfred Bester, or Mr. Bester, just torturing the ever-loving crap out of some poor psychic that's a member of the Psychic Railroad and the Psychic Underground. So.
And I think the woman with him is actually supposed to be his wife. It's not confirmed, but I think it is.
Oh, the arranged marriage wife?
Yes, that's supposed to be her.
Ooh,
according to one of the Babylon wiki.
Okay.
Well, she definitely had a creepy enough face for it.
I don't know. It could have been his wife. I honestly don't know. I will, in this instance, concede to my fellow council members, and they're a lot more knowledgeable about Babylon Wiki and all that other stuff than I am. So, but yeah, of course, he's got that very smug, really self-assured smile on his face when he's like, "I got it right here." Yep. It's Ricky, you got it, bud. One of his best parts, sir. He's dead. Doesn't matter. I got it. And honestly, for me, this episode really starts to break down Tally Winters and her whole perception on the Psi Corps. And I think y'all have referenced this and everything. For those of you that know it better than I do, I would have really been interested to see where they would have gone with her if she hadn't had to leave the show for whatever reason and everything. And honestly, I would have loved to seen how her relationship with the Psi Corps would have changed, because we would get some really good character development with her in this episode.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the only thing I heard about her leaving the show was she was trying to renegotiate her contract to get a little bit of a pay raise.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only thing I heard. So I don't know why she overall left. So
As far as I know, she wasn't getting a lot of the meteor roles she was hoping for, and I know because of what we see later with Olita, she was being held back a small bit. So I think that's why she stepped out, because she wasn't as much in the limelight as she wanted to be.
Well, unfortunately, with a show like Babylon 5, they can only do so much. I mean, you can't have,
Yeah.
it's not possible to always have the telepaths and every character get some time on screen. I mean, this isn't like Star Trek
Yes.
or anything where they're on a ship. You're on a station, and a rather large station. You've got people coming and going all the darn time. And I mean, I get where I forget the name of the actress who played Talia Winters and everything, but I can understand that gripe. I can.
Andrea
But
Thompson.
Andre Thompson, yes.
Andre Thompson, thank you
Yep.
guys, appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. But regardless, I really love I enjoyed the part where, okay, I shouldn't frame it that way, but where she's with the rest of the underground, and certain members of the underground are sharing their experiences with the Psi Corps to one extreme or another. You have that one gentleman, I believe he's a Native American descent, who has two long ponytails, and he's talking about his brother being put into a camp or something, or not put into given the sleepers, but his brother was an activist against Psi Corps, and eventually Psi Corps just kind of.
Yeah, he never woke up one day, and then Talia's like, I don't want to look into your mind, because she doesn't want to see what the truth is staring back at her. Oof.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and of course, you got the other woman who comes and talks to her and everything, and talks about the arranged marriage and the child and everything, and her being, impregnated against her will, essentially, it sounds like. And that was just that particular scene, or that particular part of that scene, just set my gave me the ick factor, obviously. And more than that, I mean, it just shows you how truly depraved the Psi Corps has become. I forget exactly who said it and everything in this episode, but somebody made the comment, and it might have been Garibaldi or it might have been Sheridan, that Psi Corps might have been something good once upon a time, but unfortunately, it's no longer that good thing. It's turned into something very twisted and very dark and evil, for lack of a better
I think
term.
it was Sheridan.
It might have been. But the other interesting thing that I wanted to comment on is the fact that Garibaldi actually, to an extent, is, what's the word I want to look for here? He's working with Bester, but he's not thrilled about it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few times where Garibaldi is actually semi-cordial to him, but only because he has to. Because he is the chief of security on the station. He's right. Yeah, there is something illegal going on here, and unfortunately, I'm chief of security, so we have to deal with this.
Yep. Plus, there was that one line where, wait, you think I'm a fun-filled thing for candy for children? Why, thank you, because Bester will always take Garibaldi's insults and try to turn it on him. It's like, oh my god. But I don't think that happens in this episode. I think it was the Red Dust episode that he makes that comment, because he had to take the sleepers.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right. And, towards at the end of the episode, when you have Winters and everything going to Ivava's quarters late one night and everything, just after Bester has left, and she's like, you're the last person I'm probably the last person you want to see, considering what I'm attached to. And she's like, I really need a friend right here, right now. And honestly, that was probably a very interesting conversation, to say the least. Particularly how they end the episode with it fading to black on the Psychor pendant.
Yep. And
Yeah,
then even
that
even
was,
though the
this is
Psychor, yeah, go for it. It's
sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, this is obviously a big turning point episode for Talia, because
Mhm.
she finally, we've kind of seen hints of this before, just a few episodes ago in Soulmates, where they get hints about the breeding programs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But in this one, she really gets the whole truth, or not even the whole truth, but a lot of the truth on what Psychor is really up to and what it's really about. When she can't kind of
Mhm.
fool herself any longer. That Psychor isn't anything, horrible and corrosive. And of course, they do have the scene, like you mentioned, at the end of the episode with her and Ivanova. And I think, as I mentioned before, I think the original plan was going to be that those two characters were going to become lovers at some point. And
Yeah.
then,
Mhm.
and then when the big reveal on the Psychor double agent came later, it would be like much more dramatic.
Yeah. And of course, they never really, except for the comment that Susan made in the episode. I think it's in season 3, when she says, "I think I was in love with Talia." I think that was the only reference that we ever really got and everything to any type of homosexual tension between the two of them. So
I'm just thinking, I wonder, does the Garibaldi role in season 4, is that where Talia would have come back, how Susan reacted? That could have been how her reaction to Control would have been, with such a big betrayal. So I'm wondering, do we see something play out with Garibaldi and Ivanova in season 4 that would have been the storyline for Talia and Ivanova?
Either that, or it could have even been shifted to season 5. So instead of getting Byron and his group, that probably would have been, dismantling, Psychor from the inside, and then you can see the results of that in Crusade, possibly.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a very distinct possibility, really.
Well, yeah, because the Ivanova story that Claudia Christian wrote, she had Ivanova come back to Babylon 5 to have Sheridan help out with this shadow-imbued tech ship. It's like, ooh. So, it could have happened.
Yeah, they could have, and as always, what could have been, sadly. But the thing I will comment on, and I think I've made this comment before, but I think it's apt. The mid-90s, we did start to see a tinkering with the whole concept of, well, we're all adults here, homosexual relationships in media. I mean, obviously, we had a little bit of a tinkering here between Talia and Susan Ivanova. We obviously had a very big one in terms of Willow and Tara in seasons 4 through 6 and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I know there were sitcoms, anything one in particular with Will and Grace that had very much had that part going on and everything throughout the entire show was kind of the focus. But I would have been interested to see what they could have done with those two characters had Andrea Thompson stayed on as Talia Winters. So
I think there is, I know it's played kind of as a joke in season 4 where Franklin and Marcus are traveling as a young married couple to Mars.
Yes.
However, while it's played for fun, you see it in the society, it's just normal, with Marcus joking, your mum is always giving out, when's the wedding, we're not getting any younger, so it's just played as normal. It's just every day, and I think that was just such a right way to play it.
I agree.
Boom, shoving it. It's normal, it's life, everyone gets on, it's not an issue. Same as with religion in Parliament of Dreams. It's really well done.
I agree. And then Ricky brings up a really good point. They brought in Marcus to be the relationship with Ivanova, which was one of my favorite characters in the series. Same here. Loved Marcus. I loved Marcus. I did. Great character. We'll get to him in due course. Believe me. I'm just as anxious as you all are, but he doesn't come in until season 3, and then sadly, he leaves just as soon as he gets there, which stinks.
Well, no, he almost got to the end of season 4, very nearly.
Yeah, but still.
And eventually he does make a comeback. It just is in the expanded stuff.
Oh, and the Tales of the Rangers.
Well, the Incurable Romantic, Space-Time and the Incurable Romantic that Straczynski wrote for the Babylon 5 magazine. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he does eventually get together with Ivanova. It's just not the show's version of Ivanova. It's rather kind of like that fast forward episode with the deconstruction of Fallen Stars, where you get to see, like, eventually they have tech where the person's personality can be put into an AI, and then the Garibaldi personality was like, "Oh, you guys are trying to use us for nasty shit." Mm-mm.
No, and that's one of my all-time favorite Garibaldi moments. Something else about this episode that I really enjoyed, and we haven't really touched on yet, and we can come if there's something else about Psi Cop, the Psi Cop plot line we want to come back to, we can. We get Sheridan and Deleen's first date.
Yes.
And goodness, I wish that particular plot line had been just a little bit longer, but I think they played it right. And guys, your thoughts on that particular plot line in the episode?
She said I would turn heads. She was right. It's like, yeah.
And I thought it was funny where Sheridan was ready to punch the guy at the table next to him. Just, have you a problem?
Yeah, this is my future waifu. Leave her alone.
Yeah. I did not think a Minbari would dress that provocatively, because let's be candid. Ambassador Deleen,
yeah,
she's okay. I want to say this. I don't want it to be taken as trolling or being mean-spirited, but she's not as flat as Daisy Ridley.
Oh no! And the thing is, but I even remember it was the one episode before she has to go back to her homeworld and before the Civil War line starts. But she wears this very nice setup for Sheridan, and Sheridan's like, "Oh my God, what is this?" Huh?
I know. I mean, yeah, she didn't turn heads as Sheridan said. If you turned heads anymore, you'd be sued for whiplash. And I love the humor during that dinner scene, and I love the conversation where they're talking about humor and Earth humor and Minbari humor, and the fact she gives that little nugget. And I love all the little nuggets. We spend an entire year in Temple learning about to appreciate laughter. And honestly, I love that entire paradigm. I love that whole concept of there being spending time just learning how to laugh. And the fact that she says, we Minbari believe only truly sentient beings know how to laugh, or something to that effect. I don't know what you guys think about that or anything, but anyway, I open the floor.
Yeah, I found the part about the Minbari spending all this, putting all this emphasis on humor, to be a little hard to believe. They're like the most humorless characters I've seen in just about any show, except for maybe Romulans.
Although, to be fair to them, Rebo and Zooty in season 5, they have a different form of humor where they crack her up with a joke that's like, what?
Yeah, like they really wanted to make her laugh, and then Sheridan's like, "What'd you tell her?" Because she's literally losing her mind.
Well, Classic, I get what you're saying, but I think Minbari humor and maybe Earth humor are a little bit different. The way I would look at it, and y'all correct me here if you disagree or give me your own perspective or whatever, I would take the Minbari's brand of humor to be more cerebral. It's a thinker. more than it is just a. I imagine there are some who would can give a good belly laugh and everything. Well, look at Drawl. He has a great sense of humor, both before he goes into the Great Machine on Epsilon and after he goes into the machine on Epsilon. Drawl has a great sense of humor. Let's be candid. But yeah, I would anyway, guys. Your thoughts?
Well, I guess maybe it's because with the upcoming Minbari civil war, they really wanted to showcase how much at odds the religious and warrior caste was, and how forgotten the worker caste was. So maybe that's the reason why we didn't see kind of the more humorous side of other races as much.
Mm-hmm.
So that and the Narn didn't have much to laugh about, though. Oof. In fact, I think the only time we saw a little bit of humor was early on Londo, basically, as far as other humorous examples for other races.
Well, yeah, and I would agree. Elysium, classic.
Well, I think Jakar is actually a very funny character at times. There's a lot of humor in him.
Oh, yes.
Which is a big part, I think, of his kind of growth through the series, because you wouldn't have thought that at first.
Oh, yeah. Especially
Londo
around
especially
season 5.
has the talent for bringing out the worst, or bringing out his humorous side.
Yes, I would agree with that. Well, go ahead, Elysium, please.
Now, I was just thinking that Jakar learns more humor after he was captured by the Centauri, especially when he comes back and he teaches that guy about religion, when he just slams the Book of Jakar in his face as a warning.
You mean Jaquan?
No, it was his own book that he was reading from.
Gotcha. Okay.
And this is lean into the book, trust me, and then he just slams the book in his head. Funny to me, but maybe to others that was maybe cruel. But then again, that shows a difference in humor, which... Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of differences in humor, I think, I'm married, my wife sometimes looks at me and says, "What the hell are you saying? That's not funny." I think it's funny. And vice versa. Our humor sometimes doesn't match up. Often it does. And I think it's, when it comes to an alien race, we would have even greater differences.
Yeah, I would
probably.
agree. Well, the interesting thing is, each one of us here on the panel and everybody that's in the chat, we all respond differently to humor, and we are triggered in a good way by the forms of humor that do make us laugh. I mean, if you all remember, I did a video and everything a couple months ago talking about who or what makes the ambassador laugh. And I listed off a whole slew of different comedians and comedians, female comedians, that make me laugh. But the thing is, each one brings their own style and their own energy, and they cover different topics and everything else. So it would be feasible that once we get out to deep space, please, dear Lord, get me off this planet. Everybody's going cray-cray.
I want to see Mars. Mars! Is there anything buried under that face? I wonder.
I don't care. I just want to see it. I don't mean to sound like a neg, but if there's intelligent life, beam me the hell out of here. Not that I would miss you guys, I would. But if I was in Richard Dreyfuss's position from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and he's like, "You want me to go with you? Let's see. My wife has left me. My children are gone. I have no job. Yeah, sure. I'll go with you into deep space, and I'll learn from aliens. I can dig that."
Actually,
I
actually watched that in the theater a week ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great movie.
I'd never seen it in the theater before.
Really? Well, just a brief aside. What'd you think? Did you like it? Did it add something to it? Was it just as good?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely visually more impressive. 'Cause I've seen the movie before, but on TV. But no, I'd never seen the theater. Yeah, I mean, it's a great movie. I love it.
Well, it's Spielberg, and it's early Spielberg. Not that Some people may disagree with me, and you know what? That's fine. But I think Spielberg has been one of those creatives who has done consistently good movies throughout his career, or he's been attached to good projects throughout his career. I mean, I know some people don't care for Minority Report. Personally, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting take on dealing with certain topics, and I think particularly with precognition and with crime and everything else and all sorts of stuff like that. And LDG Pixels. I'll just pop this up here. I'm still looking for intelligent life on Earth. I think LDG, I think we all are, so don't feel bad. But to kind of get back on track here with the episode,
I like how Sheridan solves his room service problem, like with the room rent. We're gonna just charge it to the defense fund, kind of like what Sinclair did with the riot.
Yeah, with by any means necessary, dealing with the dock union. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, go ahead, Elysium, please.
So I was just thinking one more knock-knock joke in Ivanova probably would have thrown him out of the third floor window, just like the telepath.
Indeed. I can only imagine. And speaking of which, I will ask you all this and everything, because this is a good question to kind of pick over. If you were in Sheridan and Ivanova's position with that whole dilemma, what would you all have done? Would you have done something similar? Would you have done something different?
I probably would have done the same thing, just because it's like usually when it comes to government bureaucracy, it's like you're already putting aside funds for readiness of something. So why not add a little bit more to the bill by just charging the government to itself?
What's the line in Independence Day? $40,000 for a hammer, $20,000 for a toilet seat. That could have covered it.
Yes.
It's a novel solution.
And because technically he wasn't wrong. He is part of the military readiness of the station.
Yes, very true. And Elysium, I'm going to put a special gold star on your nerd card because you quoted that line perfectly. Well done. So, for your theoretical nerd card, you get a theoretical gold star. So, personally, yeah, I would have done the same thing, but I would have gone one step further. I would have contacted a senator, I don't care who, and I would have said, essentially, you can take this rent and you can shove it. What are they going to do? Fire me? Yeah. I'll just succeed. I'll just succeed from Earth Force anyway. Just jump the timetable a little bit. But that's me. I can.
Well, but what's funny is the Babylon 5 still gets all of its stuff taken care of, because then it just gets a little bit of extra from like the shipping and people using it as a meeting place and everything. But instead of Earth Force getting a bit of the cut, the station itself gets it directly.
Yeah, exactly. I agree wholeheartedly.
This is one of the things I appreciate about the show that distinguishes it from, say, Star Trek, where, they technically don't have money, but they do. But they don't, whereas Babylon 5, it's still more kind of grounded in real world economics. And so they have these issues that come up from time to time. Like at the beginning of the episode, when Ivanova and Sheridan are talking about how revenue is down because with all the military coming through, they have to redirect commercial traffic elsewhere. So it's impacting their revenue streams, and I like that sort of detail to it.
Yeah. Well, and that's. Go ahead, Elysium, please.
I was just thinking, because that's something I was going to raise. The fact was it 15% drop in revenue because of increased military. you have to wonder what are the Earth military up to if they're increasing like they are, because at this time, I don't think there's really, well, there has been a few incidents. There's less of the, what are they called? Raiders.
Well, they were gearing up to help with what Gropos is going to cover, but I
That's
think
true.
personally Clark was building up Psi Corps' military branch, more Omega fighters and all that stuff. Because you see some results of that when they have to fight to take back Earth later.
Yeah, and Vienna, you might be right there. And of course, they could have been fudging the books too, and just trying to squeeze a little more money out of B5 and everything, and what have you. So, but yeah, honestly, I have liked the fact and everything that, as you said, classic. The fact that Babylon 5 has an added dimension to it. Star Trek doesn't. It deals with economics, and that makes the world feel much more real, or at least plausible. Like, yeah, we're not just happy-go-lucky and we just got all the resources we could ever possibly need forever and ever and ever and ever. There's still skin in the game. There's still money being transacted and everything. And I'm glad they don't focus on it, but I'm glad that it does come up periodically, and the way that it's handled with humor, it's handled with, well, in particular with the one episode from season 1, By Any Means Necessary, it's dealt with realistically. And the way that it's resolved and everything, I think, was very well done. So.
And another thing that I think, and they touch on it a bit from time to time, and it's mentioned here in this episode, but I felt they could have done more with it, is when Sheridan is talking with the others about, the Underground Railroad and that whole situation. He says, this is basically that this could make us look bad back home, and it would give people back on Earth a reason to shut us down. And it's this suggestion that back home on Earth, the whole Babylon project really isn't that popular an idea. It's seen kind of as a money sink and kind of a waste of resources. And there's that suggestion that, that the station could conceivably be, shut down and everyone just reassigned. And I think they could have done more with that through the series than they did.
I agree. Well, you bring up that particular part of the whole underground plot line, and the fact that we finally figure out who the head of the psychic underground is, and it's Franklin.
Yep, but Garibaldi was like, nuts. I thought I was right, because he was trying to pressure Ivanova to reveal something. It's like, I hate Psi Corps, Garibaldi, but it's not me.
Yeah.
She did a good way of keeping it covert, too. Roaring out inside the crowd, "Oh, Garibaldi."
And it was a twist that made sense, given when you think about it and what we know about the Doctor's character. He refused to give over his research on the Minbari during the war, and he destroyed it rather than let the military have it, and that sort of thing. So it kind of fits that he would be involved.
Well, and the thing about Franklin is he's always been a person of ethics. I mean, obviously every character has an ethical core, but we get to see Franklin's much more on display and everything when he is in different episodes. And the only time his ethical core starts to drift is when he starts getting addicted to stims, and eventually he goes off the rails.
And then he does his walkabout, and he'll get back on the rails.
Although, to be fair to him, it's more a case of his competence goes lax, rather than he's using the stems to do more, but he ends up doing much less.
Yes.
Yep.
Very true.
And actually, it was just as we were mentioning the Underground railway, it was interesting how different Sheridan reacts to helping his own people, helping telepaths, than he does to helping Narns in the very near future, where he goes out of his way to help them. And in a few episodes, I don't know how soon it is, but the one where he becomes Abraham Lincoln, and they keep the Narn Underground Railway, getting them out with Veer's help. So he goes out of his way for them, but for telepaths, he says, "Get off my station. I don't want to see any of you here." Much different reaction.
I think part of it is because he's trying to protect the fact that he's in an active conspiracy against Clark right now, and he knows Psi Corps is Clark's like right hand thing.
Yeah,
that's true. Yes,
and I will say this: I love the fact. I love the fact that they are able to tie back. They were able to tie Jason Ironheart back in and everything through this episode. And that little extra boost that he gave to Talia, it actually turned out to be the exact edge that they needed and everything to hoodwink Bester. But yeah, the whole Sheridan having to very carefully tiptoe around this whole thing. And, the thing that I loved and everything was the fact that they did not portray the other telepaths or anything that were the leadership of the railroad or whatever as radical or as zealots, but as very rational and reasonable people that were having to do things that went against their own ethics. They only tried to kill Bester because they felt there was no other way. These do not strike me as people who are, well, as I said, radical. And I thought I think that was a very good point that they did there by not making them seem more unrational and unreasonable.
Actually, that's a good contrast to what happens with Byron's group at the end. Sheridan lets them in because he generally wants to help telepaths out with that season, right? Mm-hmm. But they turn up to become radicalized because of Byron. Like, what sane person takes a PPG blast and fires it to the floor to kill himself and other people? And he does the whole remember Byron thing. It's like, really? Like, what are you doing, dude? That's not how you help people.
Yes.
And I thought the final scene with Bester and Talia was pretty well done, where it's clear, nothing is said, but it's clear that Bester is trying to scan her mind. He's trying to look into her mind and then realizes he can't. Mm-hmm. And he has this kind of awkward, he kind of awkwardly says goodbye and then turns to leave and then kind of stops and looks back at her like, what the hell is going on? And I thought that was played pretty well.
Yes,
it's like he can't read certain things in her because she does comment at one point, he's been in my mind a couple of times today. Why isn't he seeing this when she throws the thing at the wall with the telekinesis? So he does see some things, but he doesn't see what's really happening. So it's like, dang, man. What did Ironheart do?
Well, I would imagine something somewhat similar to what the Vorlons did to Lita Alexander, and I think to one degree or another. But that's another story for another time when we get around to that. So, but anyway, yeah. Well, guys, anything else about this episode you want to dissect and discuss or anything?
Actually, sorry, Fiona.
I did like Sheridan's comment that, the Minbari considered me intelligent. Yes, I'm intelligent to it. It's like, no, a certain kind of Minbari thinks you're very intelligent. That's what you're very happy about.
Yes, a Minbari that turns heads. That's the type of dress.
See that's what I appreciate about older shows like this. It's like women do legitimately have a different factor from guys to do certain things. Female strength isn't a detriment. Come on, modern storytellers, Jesus.
Yeah, I've always thought the bromance between Sheridan and Deleen was done well. I like that they're not just head over heels for each other right at the beginning. It kind of develops over time.
Yeah, I agree.
To the point of woohoo in the the elevator.
Captain, who says it? Deanna, was it you? Captain John Woohoo Sheridan?
That, and it was Lanier that said that to him, because Lanier was like, "What? I wonder what woohoo means."
Woohoo!
Indeed.
That shit's hilarious.
I know it is. It is totally. Yeah, and it's not just so much it's not only a romance, but it's also the unification of two very strong-willed individuals, and we'll see that particular part in comes the Inquisitor and everything, which I think is later on this season. So,
Yep.
when we get introduced to Jack.
Oh yes, that you were chosen. Oh man, is that thing filled with a lot of good lines?
Oh man, yes, absolutely. So
Yes, comes the Inquisitor.
well, guys, if
Actually, just
Oh,
saying there was
Elysium?
one more thing. It
Yeah,
was
please.
the whole world of how Sheridan is viewed. He was put in place because they say he's for Clark. And Bester mentions at that point in the end, the literature said he'd support us. He was very, very confident at the start because he believed Sheridan was his man, their man.
Mhm.
And that's why he was so confident going in. But at the
Mhm.
end, he was just so shocked and going, all our evidence back home is he's one of us. This does not compute. And so this is from here on, Sheridan, I think they start to get Sheridan may not be one of them.
Which, you know what, General Haig could have planted some of that to keep Sheridan's cover going.
That's
Yeah,
never
that's
thought about.
entirely. Yeah, that's entirely a possibility right there. Yeah.
I also think that Sheridan's comments about Psi Cor are interesting because, at one point he says that, we kind of made this monster. We were afraid of telepaths and what they might do. So we kind of created all these rules and put all these constraints on them and created this organization to control them. But now this thing's kind of become a monster and we can't control it anymore. And it's kind of a monster of our own making, and I like that because it's like the Psi Cor didn't just spring up out of nowhere. It's kind of a response to basically the fears that normal people have of them.
And what's even worse is if you do get around to reading the Psi Cor trilogy, Bester was actually named Dexter, and he was the child of the leaders of the Telepath Rebellion that led to Psi Cor being formed.
Yeah,
It's like, oof.
And Alfred Bester, I also was named after a sci-fi author. There's a sci-fi author by that name.
Really?
Yep.
I know that.
The Star's My Destination.
Great book.
Yep.
Okay, I'll have to look that up. So, okay, well, guys, and gal, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up here and everything. And like I said, unless there's something else about the episode you want to break down and discuss or anything, so I'm all ears.
The only thing I'd like to say is Ivanova had a good line. Were you like this when you were married?
Yes. Were you this? Yeah.
I did want to point out that I love the show, but boy, there are times, especially now that I've watched the episodes many times, and I kind of notice more details.
Mhm.
Boy, there are times when you can just see how cheap the sets are. There's one, towards the end where they're talking, basically they're all down in down below talking with the telepaths. There's one shot of, I think it's Dr. Marcus, or I'm sorry, the doctor. And on the wall behind him, you can see like this door hinge. And it's just, it just is obviously something he got from Home Depot or something. And it just looks so cheap.
Yeah.
It looks like a high school theater production or something.
There's garden furniture used in some scenes in other seasons. And the budget does lack, but I think they made up for that with story. They had to.
Right.
And I think that's why we got such a great show. If they had the budget for special effects, I don't think we'd have got such a brilliant show.
Yeah, but still, door hinges.
Yeah.
True.
Well, that's why we have to pay attention to the characters instead. Out there, glorious acting.
That is true. Very, very true. So, well, folks, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up here and everything. And I want to thank Fiona Wolf and Mounds of Elysium and Classic and everything. This is another great discussion. And this was a really good episode. We had a lot we could dissect and delve into. And, guys, this was fun, as always. I appreciate it. And I do want to give a shout out to everybody that was in the chat and everything. Robert Green, LDG Pixels, Ensign Ricky, and to the rest, to everybody else that was lurking and everything, and Jeff B, guys and gals, and Ray Ray's collections, guys and gals, and everybody else. I hope y'all enjoyed the stream. Just a quick note and everything. I will be back later this evening at 7:30 Central Time with the first installment of Wicked Wednesdays. And got a good panel put together. It's going to be myself and Superhero Reviews and Moira Kitty and Mr. CCDV. And we're going to be talking about Night of the Living Dead, the original and the remake. So we'll see y'all later tonight and everything. Do y'all have anything you want to plug and anything for your channels before we close out?
Yeah, I'm just rambling on the YouTubes about books that most of BookTube doesn't cover because BookTube is YA crazy. So there's that.
I'll go ahead and hype my channel. I'm Classic Comics. I do reviews of comics and other pop culture entities, and I'm just put up a review of the latest Iron Man #1, yet another Iron Man reboot over at Marvel this past weekend, and I hope to have a couple more reviews up over this weekend.
Excellent. So go over and check out Classic's channel and everything, and if you have not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button and everything, and go support Classic. He's a great channel. I do recommend his content. It is good stuff. It really is. So, and the same goes for Mounds of Elysium. I know for him it's kind of late where he is. He's one of our friends from across the pond or across the stream or whatever the case may be. So, but yeah, folks, y'all have a great afternoon. I will see y'all later tonight. Until next time, this is the Ambassadors signing off.